Former President Goodluck Jonathan visits President Buhari at Aso Villa.
House of Representatives passes for second reading the 2020 appropriation bill.
Minister of Labour and Productivity assures workers of amicable resolution on the issue of salary adjustment rising from new minimum wage.
Movement up doesn't mean you do a percentage of the former minimum wage to the present minimum wage, which is 67%.
Cholesterol is not good for the heart because it will not make the heart to pump very well.
Eating good food, giving yourself rest. If you smoke, stop smoking.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall focus on sustaining a healthy heart.
Now, the human heart beats 100,000 times a day, pushing 5,000 gallons of blood through the body every 24 hours. That's quite a lot.
Amazing, Rhoda. Now, the heart also delivers oxygen and nutrient-rich blood to the tissues of the body and carries away the waste.
Oh, yes, and that's amazing, too. Because the heart carries out all of this vital, work on the human body.
Indeed, that's why medical experts say that the heart, which is a muscular organ located between the lungs in the middle compartment of the chest, that, of course, is the life of a human being. Because when it stops working, it's an obituary.
And of course, that's sad. That's just like about the sad aspect of the role of the heart. And the capacity of the heart can also be slowed down when it's affected by any disease or streak of diseases.
Well, heart disease is one of the leading causes of death worldwide, but researchers are continually looking for additional ways to help people cut back on the risk factors for heart disease in order to keep their hearts healthy.
Well, it's been proven statistically that over 50% of the world population do not have perfectly healthy hearts. So how do we sustain a healthy heart? What are the things we do that put the heart at risk? And how can we prevent heart diseases so that we don't become sudden victims of, sudden death traceable to heart failure? These are questions we hope our guests will prefer solutions to today. On today's edition, it's Friday's edition. It's the last for the week. It's Good Morning Nigeria, and I'm Rhoda Anonam. Thank you for joining us.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo, joining my colleague Rhoda to also welcome you to the program. We're broadcasting live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. As usual, there will be the complimentary segments of the program. But for now, let's join our colleague Musbao Danwahab for the morning news. Good morning, Musbao.
Very good morning, Kingsley. Welcome to Venice Beats of Good Morning Nigeria. President Muhammadu Buhari has promised to beam his administration's searchlight on the high cost of governance and a deliberate effort at weeding out all vestiges of corruption and other obstacles to national development. Receiving an audience of the Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption, the President tasked the members to come out with a more comprehensive plans of action towards totally eliminating the menace in the nation's body policy for consideration.
Of course, I don't think part of the elite will ever trust you, no matter how close you are with them. And for you to accept this and therefore alienate yourself is a great sacrifice you make, which the government fully appreciates. What has been collected from public officers and others in terms of vehicles and other assets should be sold and put the money in the treasury. Let me see whoever can be courageous after this administration to go to government, take the money and send it back to somebody who has been dispossessed of his corrupt assets.
President Muhammadu Buhari this Thursday granted audience to former Presidents Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. President Buhari and his guest, who spoke behind closed doors for about 10 minutes, did not make the outcome of the discussion public. And separately, President Muhammadu Buhari says Nigeria and Algeria have no option than to effectively collaborate and cooperate with each other for enhanced socio-economic benefits. This was while exchanging views with the Algerian ambassador to Nigeria, by Kassem Smaili, who called on him. And to the National Assembly, the Senate has once again observed that the money that will be realized from the amendment of the Deep Offshore and Inland Basin Product Sharing Contract Act will significantly fund the 2020 budget deficit. At Thursday's plenary, senators were particularly concerned about sources of funding the budget.
We know that it might be difficult to achieve 100% implementation, yes, but let there be a significant improvement.
Till we sit down very well and close all the loopholes.
I know the Senate is working hard to look at ways to increase revenues. Mr. President, we need to unbundle NNPC if we have to make progress with funding our budgets. Thank you.
It is till Tuesday next week when we'll continue with the debate. Thank you.
Meanwhile, the need to be more innovative in revenue generation was central to the debate on the 2020 appropriation bill at the House of Representatives before its subsequent passage for second reading.
I think there is a need for us to begin to think of turning our agricultural product to finished products. That is where the money is.
Finance committee must at all times ensure that they expand and have a robust and vigorous oversight function with the Ministry of Finance so as to track down those revenues.
Diversification of the economy, either towards agriculture, we can see right now that the policy of closing the border for a while is yielding now.
From manufacturing to agriculture to mining, unemployment, they all revolve around the power sector.
The Minister of Labour and Productivity, Chris Ngige, has assured workers of amicable resolution of the issue of consequential salary adjustment arising from the new Minimum Wage Act. He was speaking when members of the Nigeria Employers Consultative Association paid him a visit in his office.
Movement up doesn't mean you do a percentage of the former minimum wage to the present minimum wage, which is 67%. So we have agreed on that, but the issue is that they have mistakenly banded the two things together.
I just hope this matter is resolved and it doesn't get into an industrial action on October 16th.
In line with President Muhammadu Buhari's approval for the repositioning of the National Broadcasting Commission to operate optimally without political interference in exercising its duties and sustain its neutrality, Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed has inaugurated a 7-man committee to work out modalities to reform the commission.
To implement the recommendations of the committee on the NBC reforms as approved by His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, to immediately commence work on all statutory, legal and regulatory framework for further legislative action on the review of the NBC Act by the National Assembly, to immediately assess and propose equipment, materials and training needed to make the NBC a modern and well-positioned regulator. To liaise with relevant agencies to ensure the provision of the manpower needs of the Commission to enable it to function optimally. to work out the modalities for a competitive and reasonable salaries, wages, and other welfare needs of the staff of the Commission.
And those are the top stories in the news this morning. Join us subsequently in the day for more. Meanwhile, what do you need to do to maintain a healthy heart? Kingsley and Rhoda will take you through after this break. Good morning.
The new edition of TV Guide is out, exclusively taking a look at the traditional television and new media. Are they comparable or complementary? Media industry players give perspective on the trends, progress, challenges, and the way forward. Find out on this compelling edition of TV Guide. Expository interviews with stars of the team within our space. Becky Madajemo of NTA, Utibe Umore of AIT, Nifemi Oguntai of TVC, and a host of others. TV Guide, your indispensable companion, also feature Iya Modina.
I'm the CEO, managing director of Iya Modina Sister Restaurant. I choose to serve. Shut up your mouth. Let me finish.
A TV drama series on NTA. Let's get to meet the characters behind Iya Modina. This edition also presents exciting features on tourism, culture, entertainment, sports, health, and lots more. Grab a copy at the vendors near you or any NTA station nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
Hey, bro, what's up, man? Wait. Sure, son, I won't leave as a guy.
Enjoy more data than before on Airtel Home Broadband. Get up to 160 gigabytes on routers with 25,000 Naira and 55 gigabytes on Airtel MiFi's with 12,000 Naira. More data, more you. Reliable home broadband by Airtel, the smartphone network.
Their ancestors were taken away as slaves. Now they return as kings and queens on a pilgrimage back to the motherland. The third door of return ceremony, Diaspora Festival, Badagry, Lagos, Nigeria, takes place in Badagry from the 15th to the 20th of October 2019. For details on participation and sponsorship, contact the following. Website adore.ng. The African Door of Return Experience. Don't miss it. Brought to you by the African Door of Return Experience Initiative in collaboration with the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission and the African Renaissance Foundation. Chief host, the Lagos State Government.
Choose Dano Milk for your family because 100% of our milk is sourced from our farms. This means that we control the entire production process from grass to glass, taking great care in every step to ensure the milk that gets to you is of high quality. Great tasting and enriched with essential nutrients that are great for your family. So build your strength every day with the goodness of Dano Milk. Available in Dano Cool Cow, Dano Full Cream, Dano Slim, and Dano Flavored Milk.
What we are really cultivating here is a better future for all Nigerian women, and it's not always easy. Panadol Extra relieves headache, backache, joint pain, toothache, and menstrual pain. The pain is worth it.
You're welcome back. You're still watching Good Morning Nigeria. Now let's talk business as the Corporate Affairs Commission delisted 40,000 dormant registered companies for non-performance. Abdul Karim Zulm has details of this and other stories in the financial sector.
The federal government has expressed satisfaction with the feedbacks from the beneficiaries of its social investment programs across the federation. This followed the report that beneficiaries from more than 17 states are revolving the loans they've taken and saved more than 520 million naira in cooperatives within a very short period. However, the government has expressed dismay over reports of some beneficiaries being shortchanged in the local government areas and has set up a mechanism to check such acts.
Federal government with support from the World Bank. They've actually been doing a lot, but they discovered along the line that some of the funds that were supposed to go into the end beneficiaries reached there, but is not being used for what it was being used for. So they looked at it and said it would be important to call on third eye, an independent entity that is not government, that is not the community, to also come and help, to watch, to ensure that things go the right way.
You know, trying to give the government a bad name. So there are all kinds of random things happening because we are doing things differently now. And it's like swimming against the tide, but I know with the support of the media and the people in the field, we'll be able to overcome these challenges.
In another development, the Corporate Affairs Commission has delisted more than 40,000 names of registered companies that have been dormant for more than 2 years from the nation's registration records. The Acting Registrar General of CAC, Ladi Azuka Azinge, disclosed this while briefing newsmen in Abuja. She said apart from paying workers 1 billion naira outstanding salary arrears, as a result of the 9% increment in 2013, the management also paid over 400 million naira pension arrears, which had lingered for over 2 years, adding that the Commission has also implemented the business incentive strategy, under which cost of registration of business was reduced by 50% to enable micro, small, and medium enterprises formalize their businesses, adding that a total of 244,428 business names have been registered within the last 2 years. And next is the closing figures of trades on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, which depreciated by minus 0.06% after the day's session on 10th of October 2019. With business news, Abdul Karim Zurmi.
Hey, thanks, Abdul Karim Zurmi, for the business package. Next for us, we'll take a look at the front pages of the papers that we have this morning.
Baya Toby is in the studio this morning to give more insight into our review. Baya, good morning.
Good morning, Rhoda. Good morning, Kensley. Good morning, Nigeria.
All right, Baya, good to see you.
All right, very quickly, let's begin with the Nigerian pilot. On the Nigerian pilot, you will see there just below the nameplates, Buhari Jonathan meets behind closed doors. That's on page 8. Buhari Jonathan meets behind closed doors. 1 killed in another Abuja kidnap case, 3 others abducted. That's on page 7 on the Nigerian pilot this morning. The big story on the Nigerian pilot is federal government recovers 1 trillion naira loot. FG recovers 1 trillion naira loot, says past administration lost 400 billion naira annually on fake fuel subsidy. Admits corruption still persists but low. Accuses 8 National Assembly of hindering anti-graft war. Will weed out remnants of corruption anywhere, says Buhari. Those are the writers to that lead story, and it's on page 8 of the Nigerian Pilot. Now let's go below the picture story. And that was what I read earlier. That's the picture of former President Goodluck Jonathan and President Buhari yesterday during a closed-door meeting. Below the picture story, 2020 budget, Senate doubts 8.155 trillion naira revenue targets. Senate doubts that. That's on page 8. And let's look at more stories on the future of the paper. CBN issues new regulations to strengthen payment system. That's on page 39. Page 5, Ekiti to castrate rapist. And graft war, CGN calls for petition against corrupt judges. 3,000 prisoners enrolled for university education in Noun. That's on page 5. All right, Kingsley, let's see what you have.
All right, I had Blueprint newspaper. Below the nameplate, military veterans can do more for Nigeria. It's attributed to Oloni Shakin, who is the Chief of Defense Staff. Details on page 6. 18,608 Nigerians commit suicide annually, and that's according to the WHO, World Health Organization. And earpiece there beside the nameplate, federal government and Chinese firm signed $3.9 billion Abuja Itakpe railway contract. An expert urges federal government and northern governors to establish Amajiri education agencies. Lead story, Buhari to Anti-Graft Committee, that is the Presidential Advisory Committee on Corruption. I'll beam searchlight on governance costs. With the rider, we have achieved so much in corruption fight. That's according to Sage, who is the chairman of the Presidential Advisory Committee. And then below the photograph, Bayelsa and Kogi polls. INEC boss asks electoral officers not to owe ad hoc staff. Stiffer penalties for broadcasting code violators. Details can be found on page 5. And federal government demands $62 billion from oil majors for past profits. Ben Poli, that's Benue Polytechnic lecturer, arraigned for raping minor Ochanya to death. Details on page 14. Gunmen abduct Kaduna College principal. Details on page 7.
Well, let's start with the statement issued from the fight against corruption. President Muhammadu Buhari says that the cost of governance in the country is to be looked into. This is because he says that with the aim of blocking all loopholes that allow corruption to thrive. He was speaking at the meeting with Professor Isesagi-led Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption. The President thanked the committee members for the big sacrifice they made in the service of our nation. The President, who on 1st October pledged that to fight corruption to a standstill, declared the situation where stolen public assets are returned to the thieves will not happen. Seized assets will be sold and monies deposited in the National Treasury. He added, let's see who will now take back from the Treasury. The President is alluding to what happened during the earlier days in the military administration, where seized property by the military eventually found their way back to their owners. There were instances, for instance, where a federal commissioner had about 26 cinemas seized from him and other property, as well as during the era of the low profile, when exotic cars were impounded, eventually they all found their way back to the owners. Professor Isesagi harped on the fact that corruption was fighting back during the time, describing the 8th National Assembly as the embodiment of obstacle, the fight against corruption. He said, in fact, the 8th Assembly sometimes shut down the Senate in support and rally for a peer of them when he was facing corruption charges. The mandate of the commission was promotion against corruption reform agenda, as well as advising for the prosecution of war against corruption. He revealed that the initiative of that presidential commission turned in 1 trillion naira by way of recovery. Here, Professor Isesagi, however, cited virtual shutdown of the Senate as regards his attitude to it. Professor Age also said that there is need to establish a judicial system for criminal cases, while at the same time setting up a judicial commission to aid the anti-corruption war. The anti-corruption war has several perspectives to it. Why the Vice President described as, why are you catching our own thief and leaving your own thief? Apparently, nobody was against the fact that there was corruption and there was a need to fight it. At the Senate, there was the popular balance that when it comes to the National Assembly, they use insecticides for corruption. And when it comes to members of the executive, they use perfume. But the fact remained that all of them agreed there was corruption. There was also another fallacy, that when people cross over from one party to the other, their corruption charges are completely overlooked. But the fallacy is this: 2 governors that have been charged and jailed for corruption were formerly in the People's Democratic Party. They crossed over to the All Progressive Congress, and still their trial went on, spanning over 10 years, and today they have been jailed. So the war against corruption is not party-bound. It should be a challenge, a national challenge that all of us must rally around, because it is dissipating away our resources, especially those who are harping them and stocking them away abroad.
All right, Brian, let's quickly take a look at our editorial for today. Our editorial is on the blueprint. It's on page 12 of the blueprint, and it's on Nigeria's mental health challenge. And the global community just yesterday observed the World Mental Health Day. The day is set aside annually to draw attention of governments and healthcare givers to the need to seriously address the challenges faced by people who are mentally ill. Well, statistics by the World Health Organization revealed that about over 300 million people affected by all manner of mental disorder. The World Health Organization reveals that 1 out of every 6 African suffers from mental ailment.
Well, this editorial is based on the fact that the world celebrated the World Medical Day, and the emphasis this time around is on mental health. And the statistics are very alarming. Apart from the fact that about 18,600 people are said to commit suicide, which is a byproduct of some of the mental challenges, is not only the alarm. The other alarm is that the paper is citing that 60 million Nigerians suffer from one mental health or the other. But the norm here is that it's not everybody who suffers mental health that is a lunatic. People who are in depression, who suffer other medical challenges that relate to the brain are not necessarily mad, but they require attention. But the challenge in our society is that most often than not, it is seen as a stigma. Rather than taking people for early treatment, people hide it until when it becomes a serious psychotic case and beyond redemption. However, the editorial is also pointing to the preponderance among the youth who have taken hard drugs, who are now beginning to manifest challenges of madness and psychiatry. And they also have emphasized that during the colonial era, there were asylums all over the country that was taking care of it. These have all disappeared, and that's why you find some of them in big cities. You have people who have mental challenges roaming the city, and they're saying that we need to do something to help them, and they should bring back the asylum system, and also increase the low population of experts in psychiatry that is within our medical professional cycles.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, Bayo, well, thanks. This story, we didn't have enough time to discuss it. The Benue Polytechnic lecturer and his son, who repeatedly raped a teenager, Ochanya, to death. And that incident occurred a year ago.
Yes.
And he's only now just been arraigned. And you have to ask yourself, what is it that has delayed the arraignment of the lecturer? 12 months later?
These are instances.
And the case has not been adjourned again till November.
These are the instances that sometimes make people lose confidence in particularly in the prosecution system. Okay, look at the alleged kidnapper, Evans.
Evans was shot, yes.
Yes. It's almost 1.5 years now, and he still is waiting for his day in court. And the last time the Inspector General of Police briefed the nation, persons who have been arrested for kidnapping are over 1,100. Similarly, armed robbers, so many of them. When are they going to have their days in court? This sad story happens, and the poor girl died. A father who was supposed to be like a stepfather and a son were jointly raping the girl until the girl died. So something has to be done about it. It's very sad. And particularly in the Ekiti State yesterday, they were reviewing the law about violence against women. And the Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice suggested that probably they should consider medical castration
of convicted rapists.
Yes,
but this is a case of murder,
yes.
You know, and of course rape is also there. You have 4-count charge for which he's now standing. His son, who was an accomplice, is said to be at large. But why did it take 1 year? That is the issue. I think the Benue State Judiciary, the Benue State Attorney General or the DPP, if there was no Attorney General, ought to have a proper explanation for all of this. Or were the courts in Benue on strike? So this is part of what happens when there is lethargy in prosecution. First of all, the witnesses might no longer, all the witnesses might not be available. Sometimes the evidence would have also been tampered with, not necessarily in this case, but in some cases. It takes 1 year for a matter as serious as this nature.
And sadly, it's the same pattern with all rape cases.
Yes. Yes. All right, Bayo, thank you very much for being around.
Thank you too.
We hope you enjoy your weekend. See you on Monday. Okay, it's Good Morning Nigeria, live on the network service of the NTA. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll get ahead with our topic for discussion.
Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, cordially invites members of the general public to a special town hall meeting on security. Date, Tuesday 15th October 2019. Time, 10 a.m. Venue, Katsina State Local Government Commission Conference Room, Kaito Road, opposite State House of Assembly, Katsina State. Deaconess Grace Isu Gekwe, Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Information and Culture. Announcer. Is 40. Come, let's celebrate 40 years of impressive TV broadcasting of the grassroots. On Thursday, 17th October 2019, there will be a lecture titled Lens and Sound, Television, a tool for social reorientation and good governance. Guest lecturer, Professor Oluyemisi Oluremi Obiladi, Professor of Education and Women's Studies, Obafemi Awolowo University. Special guest of honor, His Excellency, Prince Dapo Abiodun, Governor of Ogun State. Royal Father of the Day, His Royal Majesty, Oba Adedotun Aremu Gbadebo, the Alake and Promotional of Egbaland. Chairman of the occasion, Chief Olatunde Anyela Abudu, Mayego of Egbaland. Chief Host, Malam Yakubu Ibn Mohammed, Director General, NCA. Other activities lined up for the occasion include an array of awards to distinguished entities held to walk on Saturday, 12th October 2019, while a novelty match comes up on Tuesday, 15th October 2019 at MKO Abiola Stadium. Come, celebrate 40 years of impressive television at the grassroots with us and take NCA Abeokuta to the next level.
They are there at the crack of dawn. They are there busy preparing while we rise for our day. They are there silently, guarding, waiting, listening, and watching. They are there ready in the sky above and the waters below, in the blistering heat of the day, in the dead of night, willing, indefatigable, determined in the defense of the sovereignty of our country. They are our first line of defense and our last. They who have paid the ultimate price in defending us. They are fathers and uncles. They are mothers and sisters and girlfriends and boyfriends. They are brothers and cousins and best friends and neighbors. They are classmates, colleagues, and citizens of this nation. They are our defenders and deserve our respect, our prayers, our thoughts. Nigeria, please support our armed forces.
An award that has succeeded to pool a galaxy of stars from the north, south, east to the west, and central Africa, and also those that are domiciled beyond the shores of Africa under one roof.
Film editing and television production techniques are wonders of the tube that you get with continuous training and retraining. NTA Television College Jos therefore invites film editors and producers in public and private television stations to a special 4-week intensive course on film editing and basic television production. Date 14th October to 8th November 2019. Course fee 100,000 naira per participant. Accommodation inclusive. Venue NTA TV College, Rayfield, Jos. Take advantage of the course to upgrade your professional skills in film editing and television production. For inquiries, please call 0803-314-4383 or 0806-980-9807. NTA TV College, Jos. Training you to be the best you want to be.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Please, did you hear that?
Of course I did. That is village headmaster tune.
Eh? So, Auntie Amebo was not gossiping then?
Village headmaster is celebrating 50 years.
50? Already?
Wait, you mean people have been watching village headmaster since 1968? How time flies. I have retired, but not tired.
And now 50 years now. So because of that, we won't get a big party.
New date, now 28th to 29th October 2019.
Now me, I'm a body invite you now, and my belly just is sweet. Because I don't say all those people they drink my palmy, then go come drink the togo again. Now me, radio jam they call you now. You could not forget it.
All right, you're welcome back, and it's Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. How do you maintain a healthy heart? Before we bring in our experts to give us their views, let's find out what the view is on the street. And this is put together by our correspondent, Oyemi Ajayi.
Well, I think I feel the heart is maybe the life of the body.
Most important thing to do for your heart is constant exercise. It doesn't have to be that you are going to the gym every time. Sometimes maybe you are going to work, instead of taking an elevator, sometimes you just use the stairs. Just take some strolls in the evening.
The cholesterol is not good for the heart because it will not make the heart to pump very well.
Eating good food, giving yourself rest. If you smoke, stop smoking. If you don't used to have enough rest, you do have because of high blood pressure. That's all.
You know, serve God, love God and love human beings. Do you understand?
Don't overstress yourself and think, as in kind of pressurize yourself so that you can escape the heart attack and other things. Because if you think so hard, as in you carry something that's overpower you, you can bring some heart attack to you. So you need to calm down, follow life gingerly. You get it, you thank God. You didn't get it, you followed everything gingerly.
All right, Oyemi Ajayi, thank you very much for that vox pop there. People on the streets just telling us what they know or how they care for their heart. But we have doctors in the studio this morning who will be shedding more light on that and, of course, telling us what we need to know and what to do. I'd like to introduce Dr. Ngabia Morotala. He's a consultant cardiologist with Health Services Management Board, FCT. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning. It's my pleasure.
We also have in the studio with us pharmacist Zainab. Okay, so we're expecting pharmacist Zainab. Hopefully she'll join us in the course of this conversation. But we'll have with us Dr. Florence Mary Uchendu. She is a public health nutritionist, the nutritional epidemiologist, Department of Public Health, Faculty of Health Science, National Open University. Dr. Uchendu, thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you, ma'am, for inviting me to the program.
All right, so let's begin the conversation with the two guests who are right here with us in the studios. Dr. Ngabia, tell us, I mean, everybody, we all are here because we have a heart in the first instance, but how important is the heart to a human body and therefore a human being?
Okay, thank you very much. I must say that it's quite an interesting topic that we have this morning. The heart, of course, literally to the layman, you know, he looks at the heart as where the soul belongs, even though there is those argument here or there. Some people, where is the mind actually? Is it in the brain or this? But in short, the heart remains the most important vital organ for the survival and existence of a human being. If you stop the heart for a few minutes, the whole system is gone, because blood supply to the vital organs, the brain, the kidneys, will not be sustained. And so the whole, that's the main source of nourishment for the entire body. So it remains the most important organ in the body.
How does it serve this important function?
Well, basically the heart is a muscular organ that is located in the chest.
What part of the chest?
It's located centrally in the chest, between the two lungs. That's why if you look at it, God is so wonderful. Seems to be, maybe apart from the skull, it seems to be the most protected part of the body. And that is why most at times too, people that are involved in the police, the soldiers, you see them wearing protective equipment. That's the wisdom behind that. It's located centrally.
Touch it on, let's see.
It's located centrally, a little bit.
Yeah, because some people do like this. Hey, my heart and there.
Yes, it's located in between the two lungs, a little bit to the left.
Okay.
A little bit shifted, a little bit tilted to the left. But actually, behind this central bone, the breastbone, or what is called sternum medically, and a little bit shifted to the left, protected by the ribs, and then covered both sides with the two lungs. We have only one heart. So now it's from the heart that major vessels, blood vessels, just like the wirings or the piping system of a water, this is from the central reservoir, pipes are laid down around all the parts of the body, down to the legs, down to the brain, which we call arteries. So starting from the biggest arteries, going down to the smaller vessels, and making sure that all parts of the body are reached. So inherently, by nature, the heart continues to beat an average of 60 to 100 times every minute. Okay, it can be, as age comes in, the number of times is beat per minute reduced, but the average is 70, 80 per minute. It continuously. So like I told you earlier on, once it stops for a few seconds, for a few minutes, without that function being taken over, all the organs of the body will shut down.
It's like NEPA has taken light.
Just like NEPA has taken light. In fact, if you look at it, there's a NEPA component, that's the electrical component of the heart system, and then the mechanical. It is the electrical component that starts first, then converting to the contraction, the movement that pumps blood to all the various parts of the body.
So it's quite obvious now that, once your heart stops, life is over. What could put your heart at risk?
So many things. So many things. We are talking about, in other words, we are asking about conditions that we call risk factors. You're asking for risk factors for cardiac disease, risk factors that can cause heart attack, risk factors that can cause heart failure, and thereby leading to the heart failing or stopping to beat. Now,
sorry, I don't know. I just would like to interject, Rhoda. Before we get into the factors that may affect the functionality of the heart, perhaps, let's have some other explanation. You say the heart beats continuously. are there moments when the heart, we're talking about, let's just use the analogy that we all know. They say when you are sleeping, your heart is beating. Does it beat the same rate at which, when you are awake or when you are asleep? Are there moments when the heart of its own slows down to do self-repair or self-maintenance?
Definitely.
Tell us those circumstances.
Definitely. The rate at which the heart beats while asleep or when resting and relaxing is a little bit different from when one is active and when one is resting. For example, it beats faster with activity and beats less. As a matter of fact, sometimes the heart can stop on its own, momentarily, but not more than 3 seconds. So it's expected. Sometimes that is why sometimes when you monitor the heartbeat over 24 hours, because there are devices that can monitor the heartbeat, you discover that sometimes it ceases to beat for over a few seconds, 2-3 seconds, not more than that. If it's more than 3 seconds, it's a problem. So
why will it stop beating?
What makes it stop beating?
Like I told you earlier on, it's like current flowing. The current is the major impulse. There are some certain part generator. The heart has its own generator. It has its own inherent.
Is it as noisy as the ones that?
No, it doesn't make noise. Definitely, it doesn't make noise.
This is soundproof.
That is why you don't even get to know that your heart is beating.
Okay.
When one gets aware, unnecessarily aware of his heartbeat, that is safe.
It's a problem.
It's a problem.
Okay, so that's what you're saying now is, if I become so conscious that I know that my heart is beating,
yes,
something is wrong.
Yes,
if I can
definitely.
feel, sometimes that means when you're palpitating too much, when you can feel.
No, if you are stressed or you suddenly see, like we are seeing in the studio now, you see an antelope appears here.
Yeah.
Naturally,
rat, not antelope, rat.
Naturally, you have the tendency of being aware. The heartbeat increases. It's a normal preparation for you to defend yourself.
Okay.
But under normal circumstances, whereby there is no crisis, there is no any event, and then you sit down
and you can hear
and you can feel your heart beat abnormally, then that itself, it's suggesting of an underlying cardiac problem.
Yeah, but this one you were talking about, I mean, again, for us to, for everybody to understand precisely what you are getting at, in terms of the generators in the heart or the electrical system and all of that, the heart of a child and the heart of an adult, not that now of an elderly person, before we get to the elderly, what are the differences or what are the similarities?
Well, basically, there is not too much differences. Okay. At birth, once the heart is formed properly, without any inherent bad defects, okay, it remains basically dissenting in terms of the function. The size may be a bit, smaller, but in terms of all the function, there's not much difference, except that, like I told you earlier on, the rate of beating may be faster in the child as compared to an adult. With age, it reduces.
Okay, so does the heart age?
Definitely. The heart
age. As you get older, your heart is not as... Does it in any way affect how it functions as you age? Let's say, okay, I'm getting older, so as a result, maybe my heart is... aging.
Certainly. There are certain changes that occurs. There is narrowing of some of the structures within the heart on their own with age. There is narrowing of the blood vessels with age. That's the diameter, that's the pipes that move away from the heart. There's a narrowing. The beating rate of the heart reduces. If you meet a 70-year-old whose heart is beating at about 50 times per minute, you will not be so worried as compared to if you see a 30-something-year-old who is not an athlete, because athletes too, because of their training, their heartbeat also, frequency of heartbeat also reduces. So those are naturally there are changes that occurs.
Just looking at the physiology of the human being and recognizing that the heart is muscular. At birth, you can see the weight of a child. So the heart, of course, grows as a person grows.
Definitely.
And then probably with age, a person who advances in years, does the size of the heart shrink? Or is there an age or a point at which the heart stops growing in terms of size? Is it when the cavity has been sufficiently formed to accommodate it? Because you hear of some persons say that they have an enlarged heart. I mean, I'm sure those are diseases and so on and so forth. Yes.
Of course, all organs in the body, not only the heart, all organs in the body increase in size with age. Some have their own, like some will stop growing by 12 years.
Okay.
Some will, like the bones will grow till 21, 22. Some will stop growing by 16. So, of course, yes, but at about 21, 22, we expect all organs to have fully reached their adult size.
Does Dr. Uchendu will come to you very shortly. We just want Dr. Ngabia to lay a foundation. Does your weight have anything to do with the size of your heart?
Yes. Every organ in the body has a range.
Okay.
There's a range, for each of these organs. Same thing for the heart.
Okay.
Before you can conclude that the heart of somebody is enlarged, you have to take into consideration the height and the weight of that person. Okay. For example, if you are expecting the heart to weigh about 120 to, let's say, 180 grams. So by the time you adjust for the height and the weight, there is an average. Usually, before you can conclude, there is an average.
Okay.
No matter the size of a person, if it is more than 220 or 200 grams, of course, you know that definitely is enlarged.
All right, Dr. Uchendu, let's get your thoughts on the heart, and then also tell us, what could actually put the heart at risk from the nutritional angle.
Thank you very much. Like the doctor said, the heart, the major problem with the heart is the narrowing of the coronary arteries, which the first one can be reversible.
Okay.
The second one, when it becomes a permanent obstruction, some part of the heart damages, and that one is irreversible, and it leads to heart failure. And at a point, if the heart cannot pump the exact volume of blood sufficiently, it leads to cardiac arrest. And there are risk factors that are associated with maintenance of the heart and the destruction of the heart. If you are not having healthy diet and healthy lifestyle, it affects your heart. From the nutritional point of view, the risk factors that can affect the heart cause the narrowing of the coronary arteries are foods that are not plant-based. If one is consuming foods that are not plant-based, or foods that are high in cholesterol, saturated fats, or one these days you find out that many of us do sedentary work. Most of us sit down. You from your house, you enter a car to your office. You get into your office, you sit down all through the day. Sedentary work. You don't have good exercise, and you don't maintain healthy lifestyle. There are some of us, we move from the office to one eatery point. We eat nkwobi, we drink alcohol, smoking, and this is on a daily basis. Some men, sorry to say that, on a daily basis, you find out joints where people gather on a daily basis. At every evening, they are there. And they are eating in the name of enjoyment. So you find out that this thing, smoking alcohol, excessive consumption of alcohol, they put the heart at risk of narrowing of the coronary arteries.
Okay. I mean, it is obvious that the heart, like every other organ of the human body, needs food.
Yes.
That's precisely what you're trying to do. Yeah. So, what kind of food does the heart need to function optimally and then efficiently?
Yes, like I have said, plant-based foods, fruits and vegetables, fresh fruits and vegetables. For example, bananas. The simple banana that is everywhere is high in potassium and very good for the heart. The walnut, we know, invigorates the heart, supplies the right energy for the heart. Even the common okra that is in season now. You have cashew nut, you have grapes, grape wine. You have them. They are all very good for the heart. You avoid too much fried food. They cause the narrowing of the heart.
Sorry, all those ones that you have listed now, somebody cannot take that one breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So what happens to amala? You've already talked about isiewu, nkwobi, and all that. But let's just talk about what we know as our regular menu. I mean, there is tuwo shinkafa, there is fura de nono, there is eba. I'm sure you know that. Akbu, that is 6 to 6, you know, or packet shirt, you know, all those amala, you know, and begiri. So, what happens?
Well, you know that nation in Nigeria, we are blessed with good foods. It's just that we left our local foods and we are running to Western food, ready-made food. Okay. Those foods, there are portions, what we call balanced diet. Adequate diet, that you combine all of them. You combine them. And it depends on the time you are eating them. For example, you don't come back late in the night and you say, please give me eba. That eba will not digest. It will not digest when you eat it late. And that's why it is recommended that you eat it in the afternoon as lunch. So that before you go to bed, it has digested. So there's nothing wrong with our diets. They are good, but it is when you eat it and how you eat it. If you can be able to, for example, you want to cook rice and you are bringing in beans, and you are cooking rice and beans, and when you are eating it, maybe you pick some carrots, some vegetables, you have already made it a balanced diet. You are eating at a portion, but you have been able to balance it because you are putting in so many things, and probably when you finish, you take apple or you take something, a fruit. You know, you have balanced, giving your heart a good diet without even knowing it. The amala, do you know that the wedu is very medicinal? Very, very good for the body. So you are taking amala and the wedu in the afternoon. It's very good.
But you know that most homes, you know, in Nigeria, swallow or is almost like a constant meal for dinner. Most homes in Nigeria, especially at night, evenings, you know, having to swallow something is like part of us.
Yes. What Nigerians now call swallow. You have to swallow any food anyway, but there's something you call swallow. The one that you have, you know.
In some homes, it's pounded yam. It's staple. It's constant. It's dinner. So are you saying there's just it's just not right, or it's not good for the heart?
No, I am not saying. What I am saying is that if you cannot afford it, you come back to your house and the only thing you can afford is pounded yam. That's what is available. If you can afford to eat it, not late, at least if you can afford to eat around 7:30, it is okay. If you now come back, for example, around 11, there's no other thing to eat. Well, reduce the portion. Okay. Take fruits and vegetables. That means you must be a person that will be having very good exercise in order to burn it. Okay. You know your nature of your work. Because it is even that late eating in the night that gives some people pot belly.
Plus the garden sitting that you were talking about.
Roasted fish.
So you must know the limitations you have in your home and know how to balance it. If you eat late, that means you reduce the portion. Put in fruits and vegetables, even when you have eaten that to your pounded yam in the night because you couldn't help it. Then make sure that in the morning you jog, you trek. Any little opportunity you have, do exercise. You are sitting down in your office, after 30 minutes, stand up and walk around. Okay. Intentionally.
Yeah, I was also wondering, you know, we will probably have the opportunity of analyzing our foods, as it were, in Nigeria. I'm sure you recall, there's years past, there were controversies as to whether cassava was healthy for the person or otherwise. But let's just look at the basic elements, whether it is eba, or it is amala, or pounded yam, or tuwo shinkafa. Some persons will tell you, you mentioned bagri is good, okra is good. But some experts have also said that, look, egusi has a lot of oil, a lot of cholesterol, and therefore might not be healthy. What's your view about that?
Yeah, what we are discussing here now is for what we have discussed so far is for a healthy person. But if you are diabetic, you're obese, then you begin to be cautious of some of these foods. If some of them could be hereditary. In your family, you have this high blood pressure, problem issues. People in your family have suffered it, your mother, your father, or your sister, or your brother. That means there is a likelihood that if you don't take care, you might have high blood pressure. If you have high blood pressure, you are diabetic, you're obese. Then, therefore, you limit the carbohydrates you eat, the pounded yam, the gari, the fufu, rice, yam, because those ones are the carbohydrates. And many of them have what we call high glycemic index. So that the moment you eat it, it spikes the blood pressure, the sugar in your blood pressure. So if you have it, you must limit those ones and include fruits and vegetables more, beans, all those legumes, beans, and avoid too much fried food. So it depends on the individual. There's nothing wrong with our diets, but it depends on your health status.
Okay, all right. Now, we're still talking about, the heart. Growing up, of course, you are told to, you have a license to eat any and all of this, and after a while you plateau, and then you begin to watch what you eat. Yes. So for the normal healthy person, we're not talking about those who are either athletes or who do strenuous work, but you find, I'm asking this question with the greatest respect to some of this category of workers. You see some persons, who are either construction workers or otherwise, when those who do real hard manual, when you see them, when they settle, at the construction site, it's amazing what they can download. I'm sure you read Chino Achebe, Things Fall Apart, that pounded down that was so, by the time they finished bringing it down. That's on a daily basis. And yet the guys look strong. How do you explain that?
Yes, because by the time they finish it, they need energy to do that work. And the physical standard says that if you are doing vigorous work, at least for you to be healthy, you need to do at least 150 minutes minor activities, or at least 75 minutes vigorous activities. And you find out that the activities they do is even more than 75 vigorous activities. If you don't have that energy, they burn it fast. Okay. They burn what they eat. They will eat it to have the energy. By the time they do that work, they have burnt it. But if you are a director in the office, your driver drives you to the office, no exercise, nothing. You come into your office, you have everything going, you have juice, you have this, you have that, and you go and eat the same thing. It's a problem.
Okay. All right. Dr. Gabriel, let's get your thoughts now on... There's this thing like, you see somebody now, and maybe in a few hours or the next day you hear that, oh, we lost this person. And you're like, what happened? They said it's cardiac arrest. Really, what's cardiac arrest? Is it something that is progressive or something that just happens and that's it?
Okay. Talking about cardiac arrest and sudden cardiac death, basically, for somebody who 30 minutes, 1 hour before the event was apparently
Very
okay. I use the word apparently. He looks okay. He may be aware, he may not be aware, and then suddenly collapse and dies. That's what we call cardiac arrest or sudden cardiac death. However, a large percentage of such events have an underlying cardiac condition.
Okay.
Some know, some don't even know. So it means that the baseline is that we have to be conscious and we have to go for checkup all the times. It's actually becoming a serious problem. It's almost becoming an epidemic, like you rightly mentioned. Sudden cardiac arrest, heart attack is becoming an epidemic. Initially, in this part of the world, we are thinking that ours is more of infectious disease, malaria, HIV, typhoid. But what we are discovering now is that we're having what is called the double jeopardy. In the sense that we've not finished with those infectious disease, and then cardiovascular disease, cardiac hypertension, diabetes, cardiac arrest are also coming at alarming rates. So, most important thing is awareness, checkup, especially for those that have family history. Especially for those that have family history. Initially, we give an allowance. Okay, wait until you are 35, until you are 40. But what we are discovering now again is that at 25, at 30, these conditions are coming. So, if there is family history, we should be conscious right from 20. Right from 25. In fact, actually, for those that have history, there is what is called primordial prevention.
When you say history, what do you mean?
Family history.
When you say family history, like, you know, you've had someone who had a heart attack, or you have someone who has certain ailments already.
Either the parents or siblings have hypertension.
Okay.
The siblings have diabetes.
Okay.
The siblings have had stroke.
Okay.
One of the siblings or parents have had stroke.
Okay.
One of the siblings or parents have had a heart attack.
Okay.
You know, one of the siblings or parents have collapsed before, diabetes. So that is history. That is family history. That puts the person at a greater distance. Generally, it's for everybody to be conscious. She's talk about diet. And then, of course, anytime there is opportunity, let's get our blood pressure measured, check our sugar, do the basic things that we know that puts the heart at increased risk of some of these conditions we're talking about.
The conditions we just talked about, Dr. Ngabe, I mean, considering the centrality of the heart, what are those common ailments that are related to the heart, or that issue from the heart? We know that, you know, hypertension is there, stroke is there, but just give us, as an expert, what are those diseases that can arise as a result of a malfunctioning or otherwise defective heart?
Quite a number of them, but the commonest still remains hypertension.
Okay, I want to get what Kingsley is saying here, that if, for example, I want to know, okay, my heart is there any signal, is there any ailment that can come up?
I'm not talking about symptoms yet.
Okay.
I'm just saying, first, before we get into the symptoms, just to say that from the heart, these are the kinds of diseases or the kinds of conditions that may arise from a malfunctioning or otherwise defective heart. Yes. Before we get into the symptoms.
Quite a lot of them, yes. I talked about hypertension. Sometimes there can be infection in the valves of the heart. This happen quite at early age. We call it rheumatic heart disease. It's quite common in developing world. It's less in the developed world. And then we have cardiac conditions that people are born with. A hole in the heart, one of the arteries of the heart is missing. Instead of the heart having 2 chambers, it's having 4 chambers, it's having 2 or 3. You know, those are what they call congenital heart disease. They are also quite common. Then, of course, we have what we call coronary artery disease, whereby there is narrowing, because your heart also has its own blood supply. So the coronary arteries are the one that supply the heart. It supplies other organs, it also supplies itself. So if there is narrowing of those vessels, that's actually the cause of heart attack. When there is significant narrowing, the blood supply that goes to the heart is reduced. And so a certain portion of the heart dies.
I'll ask you a question. We'll take a break now, but I'll ask you a question when we come back as to, you know, sometimes when you see people who have kidney failure, you see that their body begins to retain fluid. So, but if anything is wrong with your heart, is there anything you could know physically that you would see and say, okay, I think my heart is failing, or I'm having a heart issue? But that will be after this break.
For more than 10 years, NTA Educational Television has continued to champion the discovery of young scientists and artists across the country. The 2019 National Children's Expo promises to bring to light the best of innovations and creativity in the science and arts categories. Theme: promoting unity and innovations in youths as agents of change through science and arts. Venue: NTA Headquarters Arena, Area 11, Garki, Abuja. Date: Sunday, October 20th to Thursday, October 24th, 2019. For more information, please call the following numbers. This event is proudly supported by NTA ETV, promoting learning.
Hold it! Me, I don't comot my hand from oil bunkering.
General, what you going to yarn? What did the yarn serve? I don't understand though.
Because they spoil our water and our environment. And they cause our people serious harm. Militants say, you know good. Me, I not do again, Sam. Because why? Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
All right, you're welcome back, and you're still watching Good Morning Nigeria. We're looking at maintaining a healthy heart, and we have doctors in the house already who are already speaking to that. Just to remind our viewers that, you can be a part of this conversation. If you have questions we already have questions coming in anyway, but if you have questions for our guest, you can send it via Twitter handle at NTAGMN. Earlier on, we indicated that we would have a guest to join us in the course of this conversation, and that's pharmacist Zainab Sharif. She is the head of Department Traditional Complementary Alternative Medicine, Federal Ministry of Health. Dr. Pharmacist Sharif, thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you. You know I'm always at home.
Of course, definitely. It's always good to have you with us whenever, we have you in the studio. But then I was asking Dr. Ngabia earlier a question before we went on the break. I said that when people, who have kidney failure, when they start feeling that way, their body retains fluid, For the heart, is there anything that are there any symptoms that as an average person I can see physically on my body and say probably, okay, maybe my heart is...
Telltale signs.
Yes. Are there telltale signs that I can see and say, okay, maybe my heart is... Sometimes when you are hot, the next thing you say, maybe I have malaria. Or maybe, is there anything symptoms you can see and say, okay, maybe my heart...
Yes, there are symptoms of cardiac conditions, heart disease. If a person gets easily tired, easy fatigue, especially most cardiac heart conditions are more pronounced with activity. With activity. If a person wants to take a walk, for example, from the studio here to the jet, and he will have to sit down and rest, then he has to, it's a telltale sign. In fact, it's a very major indicator that he has a heart condition. It's exertional, easy fatigue, tiredness. I talked earlier about being aware of the heartbeat. That's what we call palpitation. That's what we call palpitation. And then, of course, chest pain. Chest pain. Left-sided chest pain, actually. I don't want to talk about chest pain because there are many other conditions that can give, and actually the commonest cause of chest pain is not heart, because that is why you sit down in the clinic, you discover that many people are coming chest pain. In the end, you discover that it's not the same. But chest pain, and especially like I told you earlier on, if it is with exertion, you try to jog and then the pain comes, then that is specific.
Hold on, please. Let me get that right. Like you're joking.
Jogging.
Okay, jogging.
Yeah, jogging. Jogging. I talked about jogging, or walking, and then the pain comes. That is actually specific.
Okay.
For the heart.
What of
later on? Okay. Let me quickly add.
Yeah, please.
That body swelling too. Body swelling, especially leg swelling. Especially leg swelling. 2 legs getting swelled up. Body swelling of the kidney affect the face first, but the one of the heart affect the legs first. So the distribution are different. Then the one of the liver affect the stomach first, the abdomen first. So there's a
Pharmacist Zainab, you're laughing, but the truth is, for some of us who sit for so long,
I understand.
And maybe you have to be in a vehicle for a lot of people, you sit and the next thing you come down, your feet is swollen.
You have to check.
Okay, just wait. Pharmacist Zainab, we are bringing you in shortly, but it's still, let's Dr. Ngabia address this. In terms of the heart, some persons will also complain of persistent headaches and blurry vision.
That comes, I don't like mentioning that because that comes late. It comes late. When somebody that is hypertensive start having persistent headache, it means that the BP is in the ceiling.
It's almost going to the roof now.
It means in the ceiling. Because ordinarily, if it is just ordinary hypertension, most at times you don't feel anything. That brings us to the issue of checkup and measurement.
Because checkup. See, you mentioned checkup. Equipment
No, I'm not talking about equipment. I'm talking about simple measuring, sitting down and say, check my BP.
Doctor, hold on now. That's why I said equipment.
Yes, sir.
There is the one that the professionals you would normally have in your clinic with the stethoscope and the mercury. Then there is the one that you place on your wrist. The one that then there's also another one you can do self-check. But what you find is that if you were to do 4 or 5 checks within a space of a few minutes, one after the other, sometimes they will be giving you wide and different readings. That's why you said. That's why I was asking about the equipment.
Yes, you take the average, but that's a very good. There is the one at home, the normal digital BP machine is a good screening tool. You can use it.
Even when the readings are, I mean, your battery is okay, but the readings are just...
Take it 3 times and take the average. Okay. Take it 3 times and take the average.
Okay, so...
I will give you a guide. Then, of course, if you're getting something high, then, of course, it's warning you to run to the hospital and confirm what you...
Okay, we'll pause both yourself and Dr. Flores Uchendo, who is a nutritionist in our midst, and bring in pharmacist Zainab Sharif. Of course, she has broad-ranging experience, alternative medicine, pharmacy, and all that, which is what she always discusses when she's with us here in the studios. Pharmacist Zainab, we're talking about the heart.
Yes.
What is your conception of the heart?
I thank you for inviting me. This is what we look at, the integrative medicine I've been advocating for. And don't be scared with your heart because you are sitting down for long. But what I want us to do is let's appreciate the heart first. That organ, what is it? And what does it do? How do we appreciate it? And that will help us to understand how we should take care of the heart. It's the most important organ in the body. You realize that? It beats 72 times in a minute, carrying about 5 cores of blood around the whole body. It beats 100,000 times in a whole day, and is able to transfer about 2,000 to 5,000 gallons of blood within a 60,000 miles of blood vessels. That means that organ should be listened to. We only talk about the heart when we say we have high blood pressure. That's when you remember your heart. But there are various factors that we need to consider about the heart, the holistic aspect like we are talking about. I don't want us to start talking about the diseases, but what is the heart? How do you maintain a healthy heart? These are some of the factors we should look at. And then, like some great scientists, you see, Avicenna used to say that for you to have a healthy heart, you must go into the spiritual angle. What do I mean spiritual angle? This angle of saying envy, jealousy, and then greed for worldly things. This is what palpitates you, makes you feel high, and then begins to affect the heart as an important organ of the body. Just to mention a few. Like you have said, I listened to her. You talk about foods, especially fatty foods, high content of cheese, things like acidic foods. Acidic foods are when you take in heavy meal. You go late, you take a heavy meal, and then that meal is not able to be digested. The possibility of increased metabolism prevents diseases of the heart. I'm bringing a different dimension to this because you are talking about maintaining a healthy heart. So what does that mean? That means chronic indigestion. You sit all day, sedentary lifestyle. You have just taken heavy meal, doesn't digest properly. These are factors. Current research has shown that even people with peptic chronic ulcer are prone to hypertension. Why? Because acidity in food. When there's acidity in food, when you have stale food, when there's fermentation, you can imagine the whole mechanism in the body, the process of digestion is slow. There's increased acidity, and it is not favorable in the body mechanism. That means these are factors. From the Indian angle, they will tell you in Ayurvedic medicine that there are certain factors and urges which you must exhibit because it's not within your control. It's within the control of nature. That if you don't exhibit those factors or you don't react to them immediately, some of them are prone, they're easily called diseases of the heart. Do you know what some of those urges are? Urge to urinate, do it immediately. Urge to defecate, do it immediately. Urge to eat, do it. Urge to cry, do it. Urge to ejaculate, do it. Urge to vomit, do it. Urge to yawn, do it. Urge to sneeze, do it. Correct. You see, these are factors. Urge to vomit, do it.
Yeah.
And part of emotional factors you were asking her.
Yeah, I was going
grief. Just to mention few before we talk about the plants.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually, okay, you heard me when I was asking her that, you know, could you have, because we've just been talking about the health angle.
Exactly.
You know, like, you know, food, exercising, living a healthy lifestyle. I like the angle from which you have come. That is, when you talk about jealousy, you talk about anger. Spiritual angle. And also, too, the fact that, you know, you could owe money and have heart attack.
Correct.
There's an amount of money you owe.
Correct.
You know, you could experience heartbreak. Is it possible to experience a heartbreak emotionally
Sorry, but there are chronic debtors who will not have heart attack. How do you explain that?
You know, these are things that when you have them, like I was saying, the underlying cause and the root must be identified.
Yeah.
And like doctor has said, family history. You don't immediately go to start popping those pills. And then even when the blood pressure is taken, there seems to be sign. And the doctor is there knocking at your door. Are you not tense? Is there no stress? Stress life precipitates this. Before we now shift to, the heart is disorganized. Any disharmony in the beat of the heart can lead to arrhythmia, which he has mentioned. And then other parts, I don't want to scare viewers by saying you talk of angina pectoris, cardiomegaly, all this, we shouldn't go into there yet. We are here to tell people, how do you make your heart better? I realize we don't appreciate our heart. So with that I have said, I've told you all those 13, 14 urges. If you do them, some of them, they have been known. And then again, we talk about grief, like you have said. You have grief, you have fear.
Fear. Yeah.
All these are precipitating underlying factors that can lead to the most important organ getting dysfunction. The moment we have in our mind that heart is the most important organ, any other thing, even when you eat right,
if you have
there is a theory that states that even when you eat the wholesome food right and you are afraid, you are grief, the body cannot be able to digest it. And this proliferation of these factors, do you know how high acidity we have in our foods? We have mentioned when you want to eat all those heavy pounded yam, eba, when do you eat them? And when you eat them, remember, always have in your mind, how can I ease the digestion?
There was something that Dr. Uchendu said, and one of our viewers have actually sent in that question. You know, you said when you eat, maybe you take a portion of rice and beans, then you add carrots, then maybe after everything, you just add a little, you know, like you add fruits to it.
Yeah.
But then they've said that there's this, is it a myth or it's true? That's what I want us to clarify, that you shouldn't eat fruits together with your meal, that it's poisonous. How true is that?
There are so much superstitious beliefs.
Okay.
You are expected, in fact, you divide that plate 4 portions. Fruit here, protein here, carbohydrate here, vegetables. And you eat all of them. There are some interrelationship during digestion. It's a myth.
No, well,
can I?
Yeah, pharmacist.
You know, she said about, it's good viewers understand. Yes. You know, some of us will say, do we eat the fruit before the food?
Absolutely. Yes. That's the point.
Yes, eat the fruit before the food, depending on the kind of food. Especially for us as Africans, we have the ability to swallow. If you don't eat the fruit to warm up the digestive system, to stimulate it, to commence the process of the incoming product, digestion, you know what happens? If there is interaction between the fruit and the food, especially solid food swallow, there seems to be slow digestion, acidity is increased.
So if I'm eating powdered yam now and I decide
acidity is increased, eat the fruit, eat the watermelon. Before the, so that is very important.
Pharmacist Zainab, that point is noted. But I recall. Just hold on a second.
Yes.
Yeah, but I just want to, so that you can take this along, because we've had cause to also discuss issues around nutrition and fruits. And you know, as a chief nutritionist at the National Hospital, she's retired now. I recall it was a very interesting conversation on that occasion, and she did say that, look, eating your fruits before your meal depends on the individual condition.
Yes.
Suppose the person is diabetic.
Yes.
That if you take your fruits, now I want you to speak to this. I'm just posing that as a question that if you are diabetic and then you take your fruits before your meal, it could lead to a spike in your blood sugar level. Dr. Ochendu.
Yes, that's what I said before, that it depends on your condition, your health condition, and what you eat. If you are diabetic, you become cautious of all foods that have sugar in them. It's not all foods you now eat, especially the ones that their glycemic index is very high. But if you're a normal person, you apportion your food. For example, you want to eat food. You pack, some of these foods have high fiber.
Correct.
There are some of them that when you finish eating, you can no longer eat them in meal. So it depends on individuals now.
Just give examples so that for our viewers who may know, so that they know the
For example, whole the egg is good in fiber. Whole wheat,
Even apple.
high in fiber. Apple, high in fiber. Then you now sit down. You have maybe a plate of food, maybe beans or rice and beans, and you begin to fill your stomach with all those ones because you want to take them before. You might not be able to eat the other one. Okay. So the thing is, knowing the quantity, even if you want to take that food, just have a bite. But I will say, take that small food you want to eat and then take your food. That small portion. And take your food.
I've seen so many
fruits,
of those
vegetables.
issues about eating your fruit before your food on social media. So many write-up and all those things. I'm not very sure there's any scientific basis that insists that you must, because the whole essence of fruit mix of balancing vegetables is to delay the digestion, not to allow too much interaction between the fat in the food and the intestine during digestion. So you can mix them, you can take them together.
Well, still on this myths, I'm sure that you must also have read it in the social media among some of the things they were posting. When I read that one, I was wondering. They said that if you eat, we talked about banana and the potassium content, that eating banana and granite is a mistake.
Yes.
I have also
you have read it. So what do you think?
We have seen it.
He said banana, we have been working this thing for years, but...
Did you die?
Is it wrong?
Some of these...
Or that, you take, plantain, this half-ripe or unripe or fully... Bully. So, doctor, tell us. And then pharmacist. Is there anything wrong in interaction? Because fruits, nuts, we are told are healthy. There are some healthy nuts.
Yes.
So, if you not take healthy nuts and you take potassium, why would that be injurious to your body?
Their own argument behind it, you know that groundnut is high in fat. So, their own argument is that the fat slows down the digestion of the food. In fact, when I got to know about that meat, I decided to experiment it because I normally have a bottle of groundnut on my table with a banana. So I decided to do away with the groundnut, and I found out that it works.
What works?
Because I noticed that before, if I finish taking it, maybe I'll be having bloated stomach, gassing, and some constipation. But I noticed that I now said, okay, let me even wash this thing. Let me experiment it with my body. And I noticed that when I stopped taking granite with banana, if I want to eat banana, I eat it alone. I don't eat granite again. All those ones stopped.
Okay.
But I also want to believe that individual nature also comes into it. There is no study so far to prove it. Maybe there's a need for a further study.
Okay, thanks. Now, Pharmacist Zainab, let's get into the alternative aspect. How do you alternatively, you have also mentioned some things. Anger is corrosive of the heart.
Yes, and I've talked about the 13 urges which you have to do. And also the angle of trying to, I'm sure we have talked about physical exercise and depending on the type of the exercise, because when you have BP, it's good to clarify what kind of exercise you can do. But the cheapest exercise that is available, affordable, is walking.
okay, there is a need to sweat, to perspire.
But then, if I'm Zainab, sorry, we've seen instances where people went on a walk or on a run and they collapsed.
But I've said it. I said it's good to know. You should at least, I expect that you have you have gone to the hospital, you have seen your doctor, and the doctor should be able to tell you the condition of your heart, what you can do and what you cannot do. But generally, we are talking about promoting healthy heart. And that is the angle we should also emphasize us, because prevention is better than cure. That is why I talk about exercise, walking, which is very good. And we have talked about reducing fatty foods. These are very important to us. Avoid alcohol, avoid smoking.
But they said a glass of red wine is good
Yeah,
for your
it depends, 38 grams. If they say glass of red, did they ask you to pop it? No, we have told you the specific quantity that is good for the heart. It's allowed. And you must identify why. The nutrients, what she's talking, because we have to give correct information to our viewers. When we talk about nuts, there are nuts that are very healthy to the heart, because I'm coming towards mentioning those nuts. And what is important is that research has shown that magnesium is a very good mineral that is important to the heart. Zinc is important. Do you understand? Calcium is important, and of course potassium. Because when anything that you take that has potassium will tend to cause excretion of sodium chloride, salt, and water. This is the technical angle for it. So sesame seed nuts, cashew nuts, almond nuts, some amount of groundnuts.
But these are expensive nuts.
No, I'm giving you the local one. Sesame seeds is sold in the market. You have people even in on the way. You see sesame seeds.
Okay.
You can buy that. Cashew nuts.
There's also sesame soup.
Yeah, very
sweet.
good. And even the one made with chicken. And we don't want to go to make you start salivating. There is a kind of soup the Jos Plateau people prepare with, rich in sesame seed. Okay. These contain omega-3 essential fatty acids, which are needed to strengthen the heart. Okay. So some of these oils have been identified, but we use most of this part. And I want to mention aromatherapy. Aromatherapy is the use of essential oil to promote and to help us calm us down, to reduce our anxiety. Research has shown that most of the oils from the citrus fruits, is it lemon, is it orange, is called nerolil oil. You put some in your bath just to reduce palpitation. There is scientific evidence to that. Because we don't look at only, our orthodox tends to address symptomatic. And you must realize that the moment you are told you have BP, some people think it's a death sentence. Am I right?
Yeah.
Because what comes to their mind is that I'm going to take this drug for the rest of my life. There are adjustments. Medicine is encompassing now, integrative medicine, where this can come in and this can. Yoga has been known to reduce some of these precipitating factors to health. No wonder the Indians have now, all over the world, 21st of June is celebrated as World Yoga Day. Meditation. You think well, you are calming spiritually. All these are factors.
It depends on what you are meditating on.
Yes.
Well, if you are meditating to get alert,
Yes. Yeah, you do that.
Rhoda, just hold on a second. Pharmacist Zena.
Yes.
Tell us something. In terms of this, what is the role of garlic and onions?
Good.
In terms of maintaining a healthy heart?
I just talked about the other factors, then specific. Then I want to mention some known medicinal plants, well documented scientifically, that have a role in the functioning of the heart. We call them the Trinity plants. The garlic you have mentioned, alum sativa, and then onion, because of the composition in the chemical constituents. When you take garlic, it is good that viewers understand. In most cases, you are asked to take 75 milligrams of aspirin when you have hypertension, because it's the ability to thin the blood, to make the blood flow very well. What does garlic do? You shouldn't take garlic with aspirin if you are placed on aspirin. You rather alternate. To me, nutritionally, garlic will thin the blood, and garlic will dissolve the excess cholesterol, which is responsible for factors that we call atherosclerosis, deposition of cholesterol along the blood vessels. Zobo, hibiscus sabderifa. It's very cheap.
Zobo drink.
Yes, God does not inflict a disease in you without giving you a remedy. We must realize that if we want to stay healthy. The remedy may be near you, but it's the ability for you to know the remedy. When we say this remedy is so common, we disregard it. God watches you. You keep on pulping our medical drugs. No disease, no drugs can save you if you don't improve healthy lifestyle. Zobo, reddish in color. That color cannot, it's by God, because it contains an antioxidant and vitamin C, which are nutrients that strengthens the blood vessels. The ability of the heart to pump the blood, its muscular nature, the fat content, the blood vessels. When you take Zobo, it can help you to strengthen that.
Sorry, onions. You didn't talk about
onions. Yes, the
very
Trinity.
quickly before we bring in Dr.
Yes, alum cepa. All this because of their composition and technical evidence and scientific evidence. There are things like we have around us. We have mentioned the fruits and the vegetables. Turmeric. Research is going on. Science cannot say what you have said is wrong because it does not know it. There is dynamism in science, and we are keeping research.
I'd like you to come in here.
Yes, please. You know, one problem that we have, that I have, and many of us that care for cardiac patients have, is the nature of black is a bit different from the white and all those things. So the challenge we have is that when you are giving some of this information, assimilation, understanding it in blacks, that's what we're scared about, because you know these conditions most of the times are they are long-time conditions. Yes, you keep on telling somebody that he should be taking his tablet every day, it becomes a challenge. So once he hears an alternative, he easily jumps to it. Yeah. But the danger there is that by the time you pass some of this information and the person assimilate it, they had a very high tendency of abandoning his medications. Okay. He has a high tendency of abandoning medications. So, and most of the times,
that's where there's complementarity. I think that's the point.
You know, some of these things, they have antioxidant properties. I want viewers to really get it clear. Yes, they have antioxidant properties. When you take some of these supplements as add-on to your medications without abandoning your medications, I don't have problem with them. Another challenge again is that they are quite expensive. So if you are to put the two of them together, you take your medication, and if you have the capacity, you add.
Let me ask this question:
the supplements,
Dr. Ngebe, I don't know whether you've received this from your any of your patients, because when you have common conversations, you hear it. You know, we're talking about bananas and how healthy bananas are. For some patients who are on antihypertensive medication, if they were to eat a banana or two now and take their antihypertensive medication, they will be having palpitation. Have you heard that report from your patients?
Well, not that common. Banana has potassium, like we all agreed, and it's actually good. Except
because you were talking about taking them jointly, jointly, rather than having one as an alternative to the other. That's what I'm asking.
I don't mean at the same time or so. You know, I mean, of course, it's been established that fruits are good for the heart. You know, it must not be at the same time. But of course, it's one of the good.
We're going to have to speed this up now. How do you explain this? My colleague Rhoda was asking this question. Sometimes you find otherwise apparently healthy persons suffering cardiac arrest. Footballers have been known to collapse and die on the pitch. Persons who are apparently also healthy have been jogging and they have also passed away in the course of that. How do you explain that? Why does the heart just...
Before I answer that, let me quickly add that, you know, emotional, you know, all the emotions, quarreling and all those things, they are scientific basis.
So if you know, that is
they
what
are
you're saying
scientific basis, yes. Stressor
quarreling can also affect
they are scientific,
your heart.
they are physiological, you know, there's a part of the body, the parasympathetic nervous system that is responsible for that. So it's not surprising at all. Engaging in hot argument with a loved one, for example, and developing a stroke, It's physiological. There are hormones in the body that are such, they are such into the blood, and they are responsible for that. You know, that is established. They are established. You understand?
Yeah.
Apparently healthy people suffering heart attack, that is why where screening is done properly, some of these underlying medical conditions will be picked. If it's only when whereby there is no proper screening and the person engages in competitive athletics, that is when you see some of these things happening. Some of them have escaped. Like Kano Nwankwo, for example,
right.
it was he escaped. He was lucky he escaped. It was discovered.
He had a good diagnosis.
He had an early and a good diagnosis, and then he survived it. But most of the times, if a proper screening is done, quite a lot of these things will
Let
be
me
picked
ask
up.
Dr. Uchendu, is oil good for the heart?
Yeah, there are some oils that are good for the heart. There are some that are bad. Oils that are saturated are bad. Oils that are unsaturated are very good. Oil coming from fish like suana, sardine, they are good for the body. But if we are talking about
catfish, that one that point and kill at the one.
Yes, the fish. Those ones have saturated fat because of, you see that oil, the woman would have used it about 10 times for 1 month, finishes, pours in a container and keeps it. They are saturated fatty oil that provides the heart.
Palm oil, uncle.
Palm oil, there are so many arguments about palm oil, whether it's good, whether it's not good. But palm oil has 50% of saturated fats and 50% of good fat. And it has been known to also have enrich the body with vitamin A. And
but you see, I don't know. You know banga.
Yes, banga soup.
And starch with periwinkle.
You can burn it up. You see?
Sorry,
the angle we are coming, you see, I want to clear something. There is no one way to treating a disease. Orthodox cannot claim it is 100% correct. Medicine is encompassing. We should listen, learn, and know so that we can help our people. So what I'm trying to say, there are other aspects. I talked about aromatherapy and I talk about yoga, meditation. These are some things that help. So when the disease is there, it's easy. I'm a pharmacist. There are drugs that are used in the management of hypertension or diseases. You can never effectively manage a disease through only drugs. The other means is what we are talking. And the ones that have scientific evidence, we speak on them. It's very important. Antioxidants have been known. All colored fruits, they will tell you, colored fruits, I've mentioned zobo, the cherry fruit that is mostly common from the southeast. In the body, you see, when you want to explain medicine, some angle, yes, agbalumo, they will say sweet, sour taste. Sweet, sour, bitter taste. These are some of the things, these tastes are in the body.
Bitter leaf.
Thank you.
These tastes are in the body.
Bitter leaf.
You eat bitter leaf soup. Bitter leaf has the process. Remember the urges I told you. Anything that can help digestion, improve metabolism, indirectly will help function of the heart.
All right.
This is well documented.
Okay, Rhoda.
Bitter leaf is high in fiber.
Yes.
Okay, I was actually...
It flushes the system.
No, exactly. So you are coming to what I'm saying, the urges.
I was telling Kingsley earlier during the beginning of the program that for someone like me, sometimes I have
to digest
I have
well.
heart pain when I don't have money. But once I get a lot, my heart functions very, very well. All right, let's see if we can take our
this is not an appeal to our viewers to say they are allowed to.
No, I was just trying to explain what makes my heart function.
You know, we said the heart is the size of your fist, isn't it? We said the heart is the size of your fist. So as you add weight, you should also look at the size of your feet. As we are talking fist, as we are looking, you are mentioning the size of your fist. Remember your heart. So when you are blowing, always remember the size. Then you can check up and notice that. So obesity is a precipitating factor.
I mean, it's clear there's been a lot of medical advice and warning about weight gain and weight maintenance.
Obesity.
But I know that probably is exceptional, but how does one explain this? You find obese people living long.
Sure.
Some of them into their 80s. So what happens?
When we say obesity, it depends on the context. We all cannot look slim, and we all cannot look fat.
And the bone structure.
And the bone structure,
The height.
depending on your height and your family history.
weight and height.
What is important?
What it is.
You can determine yourself. When like doctor said earlier on, you feel lazy, you easily feel tired. You begin to know that these are calling factors for you to check.
Is it possible for one's BP to be more than the normal range and be okay?
Yes. Because high blood pressure is a silent killer. That's why it's a silent killer. Your blood pressure could be hitting 600, you don't even know. You are moving up and down, normal.
I don't get you.
Yes.
What do you mean by above the normal range? And
there is normal range and there is borderline range.
130, that is, okay.
120 over 80.
BP to be high and you are
the normal range.
Of course. Very, very. In fact, that's the commonest presentation of hypertension. Yes. You don't feel anything.
Okay, you know what? We have a number of tweets that have come in. Our viewers also want to contribute. We started this conversation by first going to the street to get their views now. Those who have sent in their tweets, some of our regulars. Dele Jack Solomon, Rhoda, let's go very quickly to this one. There are no alerts in these tweets, but let's go over there very quickly.
All right, Dele Jack Solomon says, by making smarter lifestyle choices, we said earlier, you can protect your heart and reduce the risk of developing life-threatening heart conditions. Making these small decisions can have a large impact on your health or heart or overall well-being by eating more nutritious foods.
Okay, Utulo Sunday, regular exercises, minimal intake of alcohol, heavy weights, quit smoking, and stay away from secondhand smoke. Control of cholesterol and stress management can as well help sustain a healthy heart.
Mike Anyaku says the heart is the engine room of humans. There is a need to have a sustainable, healthy heart as a subject matter. Medically, many illnesses have their root cause from a failing heart. People must always check their blood pressure on a regular basis.
Festus Akimboye, wow, healthy diet, staying active, and tackling stress will go a long way in tackling heart disease.
And Omogbola Ombab says there's something that's entirely free, and he's talking about the water therapy that is very good for the heart.
So take water very often. Take water first thing in the morning and last thing at night. Abbas Saad, some of the activities include the following: always get active, eat healthy, manage stress, and then all of that. So quit smoking, and so on and so forth.
And we have, I think we're almost at the time, we have from Badamasi Haruna, Steve Bond, Anthony Onoha. We also have from Yusuf, Lambo, Chris Simeon, Cecilia Okoroma, Sani Michael Omokaji. We got your tweets.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, one or two others I would like to read here,
okay.
Rhoda. This is part of keeping calm, and it's important. This is from Steve Bond. It says, only music and eating more fruits and salads can reduce heart disease. I implore viewers to listen to some Nigerian music today. Thank goodness. Yeah, salads. Provided you don't have that, you don't have that.
The dressing.
When you go to parties like that, they will say, salad. They know what they want to give it. They will. When they roll the dressing on it.
But let me ask something very quickly, because we're talking about the heart and cholesterol, and we know that one of the things that drive the keto diet is a high fat. What do you say about that?
Anything that has high fat, provided if the fat is saturated, is not good for the heart. We have mentioned, we have told you healthy things. Yes. Okay. That is in the food. And your salad.
All right. Okay. So thank you very much. We know that this is a topic that we always have the opportunity of returning to at some point. We're talking about parties just now. You go around all kinds of things.
And comedy, it's very good to the heart.
Comedy.
Because you should laugh. It makes you nice. Don't get over anxious. These are.
Don't get over anxious about an alert that hasn't come.
That hasn't
okay, all right. So that note, we'd like to thank our three guests who've been with us, and indeed our viewers for staying up to watch Good Morning Nigeria. Together, of course, those who have sent in their tweets. Dr. Motola Ngabia, it's our appreciation to you for being around, consultant cardiologist. That's an expert in heart matters. Not the lovey-dovey type, I believe.
No.
Okay. All right, pharmacist Zainab Sharif, always with us here, director at the Federal Ministry of Health, and also Dr. Florence Uchendo, public health nutritionist. She's of the Faculty of Health Sciences at the National Open University. Thank you for being with us on the program today. Let's go back down to our sports desk.